Hey everybody, welcome to the Faith and Fandom podcast. This is the Artist's Alley Aftermath edition for Friends of the Brothers Boyd Comic-Con issue 2. Hashtag the longest name for a show ever. If you're not familiar, the Brothers Boyd are content creators from the far east coast of North Carolina, and they do a lot of videos and YouTube stuff and interviews and con reviews and stuff like that. And they've just been really dedicated to it for a while. And you build your own network of friends and associates when you do cons after a while. And the Brothers Boyd have built themselves a solid network of people that they connect with and rely on and trust. And so they put together a con, and they started their con. I think I did my show first, and then the next year, their show was the weekend after my show, or the weekend before my show, like at my church. So I've run two, they've run two, and technically the date of their show this year would have been the date that I did my show, but at the same time, I don't think I was in a place in life that I would have been trying to do a con anyway. But yeah, so it's a good thing to have people that are actually already invested in the con world creating shows, because it just makes a big difference, kind of in the quality and the overall hospitality and thought that goes into it. Because if it's just people trying to milk vendors for fees, you will definitely know. But if it's people that actually enjoy what they're doing and care about the people they work with and want to put on a good show for the community, you can also tell that. So the Brothers Boyd are definitely the latter, and really invest and do things, and I appreciate them, and as long as I get the chance, I'll show up for their shows. And I think next year is the 12th of September. But it's at the Havelock Tourist and Event Center, which is kind of just past New Bern, depending on which route you're going on North Carolina. But it's near a military base, and so there's a lot of plane vibes. There are giant planes and helicopters outside, and there are actual planes hanging from the ceiling inside the show as well. It's kind of bonkers. But starting off show wise, I packed my car up the day before, or the day before I left. My daughters helped me get everything packed up. I picked up my daughter Carmen from school after her school day and my work day, and we headed on down to Havelock. She passed out immediately. As soon as we got in the car, she was like out cold for the majority of the drive. And yeah, she was out cold for the majority of at least the first hour or so. And then eventually she woke up, and we stopped and got like a drink and something at Sheets and gassed up and everything somewhere down the road. I don't remember where, but it was somewhere. But we stopped and gassed up, and it was a pretty smooth drive. It is a 3-hour haul, so we headed up 95 to exit 95, which I guess is near Wilson. And then took kind of back roads that route, and pretty smooth overall, just in terms of driving. I don't think there's anything crazy eventful in getting there. Just listening to music and talking and doing all the things. And she played a lot of Nintendo Switch. We had just bought Hollow Knight and Silk Song, both games for the Switch. So she dabbled with Hollow Knight for a minute, but then she spent at least an hour and a half playing Tales of the Shire, the Hobbit video game. And we were driving straight to dinner, and I'm not saying this in any kind of bragging fashion, but just telling you the story. The Brothers Boyd invited me to their VIP-ish dinner It was supposed to be for the Power Ranger guests and like some of the other get celebrities like Potsy and stuff who does Keen Spot comics and things. And uh, they invited me to their dinner, and I try to like if somebody goes out of their way to invite me to be part of something, I'm going to make an effort to show up. And so we were going to Mario's Pizza in Havelock, North Carolina. It was supposed to be the folks from the shell. Boy, I'm gonna butcher names. Um, it was the folks from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, which Darren, I want to say less is in my mind it was Snell, but it's Shell. Darren Shell, who is the guy who was setting up at the shows from there. And it was Darren and his daughter and Potsy and the families of the brothers Boyd. And so it was going to be just people that they were raising money for, the comic book celebrity, and the Power Ranger guests. And so we showed up and we were just, grateful to be invited. Jesus makes this statement about don't ever try and put yourself in the good seat at a party because you'll be embarrassed when somebody has to tell you to move, but like put yourself in the low position and wait for your people to invite you to sit in the good position. So I counted this as my friends inviting me to sit in the good position, so we're going to show up. And so we drove to Havelock and we got there and we talked about comics, and the Shells and I talked about youth ministry and ministry in general, and Potsy and I talked about comics, and we all talked about shows and show life, and it was a nice, encouraging time. We ate mozzarella sticks and pizza, and just had a good time. The Power Rangers were on a bit of a schedule delay in terms of arriving, so I personally had long finished eating and everything before they had made it, and I didn't want to just hang around and awkwardly wait to bother the Power Rangers. um, and Carmen and I had an agenda for the night. We were going bear hunting. I'll tell you about that in a minute. So we're going to go to our hotel and check in, refresh ourselves, and hit the road to go back to New Bern, which we had just driven through a little bit earlier, but or driven by at least. And we got there and we debated on going swimming, just because 9 times out of 10, whenever I get a hotel, there's no pool that's actually functional. Even at the best hotels. I feel like the one I stayed at Heroes Con this summer was one of the best hotels, but even that one, like, the pool was down, so it's whatever. But we went bear hunt. We didn't go swimming because she didn't have a bathing suit, and I tried to convince her just to wear one of my t-shirts, and she was like, "No, that'll be weird," and all the stuff. So we ended up going to New Bern to look for bears. So bears are the theme of the city of New Bern. If I'm not mistaken, New Bern is also one of those towns from the Nicholas Sparks book, A Walk to Remember. I could be wrong, but in my brain, that's the case. And so there are bear statues all over New Bern, especially downtown. There are painted and themed bear statues. So we parked, we got some ice cream, and we walked around. And I'm not kidding, we walked 4 miles over the next few hours as we looked for bear statues and took photos with them. And we didn't want to look up where they were. We wanted to find them, like, by walking. And man, we went till almost 11 o'clock of looking for bear statues, and I want to say that we found 17, and on the drive out we passed one that we missed. And if I'm not mistaken, that one is the only one that we just straight up just missed. And so we had a great time doing that, and it was a good time just to take my 12-year-old and walk around a city she's never been in and have an adventure. So we went by the harbor, and we had a good old time walking and taking that and exploring it. So it was good. We came on back, rested, got ready, and got prepared for the show. One of the aspects, and this isn't a negative towards the Boyds or what they do, but one of the aspects that makes the show a little more complicated is the fact that on paper, you can't get in early. You can't go set up early. You can't set up the night before. You can't go in and set up early that morning at like 7 o'clock. Like you straight up are, you can come in at 8 a.m. and that's your option. Now they did open up a little bit earlier on that Friday, but our plan was we were going to go open up our new t-shirt rack, put all the shirts on the rack at like 7:30 out in the parking lot, and then we can just roll on in. But they were open a little bit earlier, and we took our time and we got ready. And my first interaction when I got in the door is my booth neighbor, Mr. Gene Comics, saying, "Oh, God, I'm next to the religious publisher. Got to watch my mouth." And I've been around him before, and he kind of been part of his, like, I've seen his journey with things and stuff like that. And so we were next to him, and there were some cool 3D printer people directly behind us. To our left was like a board game that was like a shooter board game. And then across from us was some different comic book artists and vendors and stuff. And so, like, I didn't really talk to the people across the aisle because it was a long aisle. And I didn't talk to the board game people either because, again, the aisle was big. It would have been like yelling across them. But yeah, I'll say this: like, whenever you're in tight spaces with people, you can get on each other's nerves and stuff like that. And it has to be like you got to be on your P's and Q's sometimes when you're dealing with people. And there were things that I heard said, again, tight, small spaces. There are things that I heard that during my time that were discouraging. There were things where I heard people like intentionally lying to customers for their benefit or for their financial gain, and manipulating situations. It's like, that's gross. I don't love that. But again, everybody's got their own different way of why they do things and how they do things. And I was grateful to be there and to be able to be part of the show is how it was going. Let's see. I'll say this again. The Shells, they are quality folk. I think that's literally what my notes say. Just seeing their hearts and the fact that they're setting up at shows to work with the suicide prevention. And one of the things about the Brothers Boyd do is they do a raffle for suicide prevention for these folks, which is a really neat thing. And so they get to raise money and do that stuff for them in that process. But just getting to spend more time and talking to them, they're good folks. And in fact, I'm planning to do one of the first Faith and Fandom Love Thy Nerd podcasts for the year will be with the Shells. Since it's September and Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. Early on, one of the first people to stop by the booth was the dude who was cooking the pizza at Mario's Pizza. And I was like, "Hey, you're the dude from the pizza place. You were working really hard last night." And like, he's like, "Yeah, yeah." And we chatted for a second, and then I offered his kids Pokemon cards and let them do the rolling the dice thing for the Pokemon cards, and it was an like just the normal kid experience of them getting excited over free Pokemon cards and things like that. And then the dude from Mario's Pizza said, "Listen, when you leave here, if you want food, come by. It's on me." I was like, "Hey, I earned free pizza in the eyes of a pizza shop owner." I was like, "You know what? That's great." I didn't do that. I didn't go get pizza from him, but like literally just being kind to this dude's kids made him want to give me free pizza. So, hey, that's a win. And then like Kaz, who does cosplay and videos and video games and stuff like that, and interact with him at many shows over the years, was trying to sell these shirts and hats that he had for his upcoming video game, and the other vendors were giving him technique tips on how to do his sales pitches, because like a lot of con vendors will have a pitch where when somebody comes, they're going to grab them and grab their attention and say, hey, here's why you need my stuff. And if you know me, I don't do that because it's weird for somebody to do that in a religious capacity and say, hey, you need Jesus. And then it becomes a whole other conversation. But they were giving Kaz guidance on how to pitch his stuff. And so when he finally sold his first shirt, like the whole Artist Alley vicinity around him clapped for him. So it was pretty cool. I had my little sketchbook as normal, and a young lady freaked out when she saw my Lincoln Park Meteora sketch. I think it was an Inktober thing from last year or something like that, but it was a drawing prompt, and I drew the spray paint Meteora cover, and they freaked out over it. Now, they didn't buy it, but they freaked out over it. But that's usually the case. And there's Pokemon at the booth behind us and everything, and my daughter was telling me about there was a Mew and a Mewtwo, and she just had this moment where she's like, wait, is it called Mewtwo because it's the second Mew or like a sequel to Mew? And I'm like, yeah, baby, that's why he's called Mewtwo. She's like, wow, I never got that. I'm like, homie, come on. One of the neatest things I saw at the show in terms of merch was someone had crocheted a lightsaber. So I guess they had taken a stick or a tube. It felt heavy, so I'm going to go with a wooden stick. But they had crocheted a padded lightsaber around this stick. So it felt sturdy to hold, but also like you wouldn't necessarily kill someone if you swung on them. So that was nice. The concession stand for the Hanover Tourist and Event Center sold coffee. Now, normally if a place is selling coffee, it's not usually bad, and I'm excited for it. This coffee hurt my feelings and was a little offensive, and here's why. One, it was $1. So, okay, I was like, okay, that's great. It's $1. The cups they gave you the coffee in were almost mouthwash size. So they were itty bitty cups. Second, no insulation and no lids. So it's a little bit of liquid. It wasn't great coffee, and it got cold instantly. And I was just mad that I'd paid $1 for not good coffee. So there's a whole thing with that. Let's see. There's another situation where there was something that, again, we're in tight spaces. We hear each other talk and everything. And someone had said, hey, I got this really great deal on this thing. And where they had gotten, let's say, hundreds of dollars worth of merch for $10. And I heard that. And I know they weren't directly talking to me. But I heard them say, yeah, I got this whole thing for $10. Meaning that everything in there was dirt cheap. So I asked, I was like, hey, do you still have this one piece? And they said, and when they said what they wanted more than retail for it. And I'm like, homie, bro, why are you swinging so hard for this? I don't know. It just disappointed me. I get people are there for profit. We're there for different things. But I'm just like, bro, why are you trying to like literally milk me here? In terms of show and everything, one of my favorite moments was I had drawn during that show. Now I had worked on drawing all three girls from K-pop Demon Hunter. But I'd also drawn the Derpy Cat, and then I had drawn Genu, which is the main dude in demon form from K-pop Demon Hunter. And a kid came by, and he saw the Derpy Cat, and he got excited. And I was like, "Yeah, I've got I got all three girls and Genu." And he's like, Genu? You have Genu? And this little boy was so excited. And he's like, I need the Derpy Cat and I need Genu. And this little dude proudly held those little sketch cards like it was the greatest thing in the world. Because, and I'm just guessing, one, he loved K-pop Demon Hunters. but there's not a ton of representation for the dudes in K-pop Demon Hunters, especially consisting that they're technically the bad guys and have tragic stories and all this stuff. And it mattered a lot to that little kid that he could get Genu from K-pop Demon Hunter and the cat. Um, and I was just happy for him. I was happy that he was able to get something that made him excited, but B, that it was like, representation, that as a young boy he was able to get a boy character that he was interested in, and that it was just something to be able to do. So I was pretty excited for that. Also, they did the raffle like I mentioned, and we won a Drax action figure in the raffle. And I let Carmen go pick it out, by the way, because they were action figures from Guardians of the Galaxies and the soda cans. And the options were Nebula and Drax, and she chose Drax. And I'm just going to say she chose incorrectly, because if you have to choose between Nebula and Drax, you choose Nebula. That's Karen Gillan, my guy. That's Amy Pond, my homie. You don't choose Dave Bautista over Karen Gillan. You don't. And I was a little disappointed in my kid, but I wasn't going to chastise her for choosing Drax. She's like, I thought you would like Drax. I'm like, I didn't say a word, but I was like, you thought wrong. Because I would have rather had Amy Pond. But anyway, one of the cool things is we won a 10 graded Gem Mint Melanie Japanese V-Star Special Art Rare Pokemon card. I'm guessing it's the most valuable Pokemon card I own now. It's CGC graded. It's pretty neat. So we won that, and that money went to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And I believe the total number that I heard on the way back was that they raised almost $700 for the AFSP. Yes. Which is great, and that's huge. And I'm looking forward to learning more about the AFSP. Yes. When I have Darren on the podcast. But the Brothers Boyd worked their butts off to put this on. And if you're not aware, and I'm not trying to put all their Kool-Aid out there for the public, but one of the brothers' wife has been going through heavy medical battles, and to the point that honestly I wasn't sure if they were going to have a show this year. Again, I would have completely understood if they didn't, but they ended up having their show and doing well, and they just put out a message just a few minutes ago that she's starting some more chemo pills tomorrow. So I mean, it's an ongoing thing, and to be able to still pull off a show in the middle of that, I think is pretty admirable. So as we were packing out, I talked to the dude who now is running Lumberton Comic-Con. We had lots of conversations about back in the day with this show and that show and show prices and like Fayetteville and Lumberton and different stuff like that. And we had a lot of conversations about the shows itself and how shows are being run. And even just that little conversation was pretty nice. I'll say this. It was a weird show in the concept I did not sell a single book. Not one. Not a comic. Not a devotional. Not a nothing. And I just was like, wow. Okie dokie. I did sell a couple shirts. In terms of retail cost and effectiveness, I'm pretty sure I made my table back. I don't think I would have paid for the hotel or the food or travel or anything. So again, thank you Patreon supporters for helping make this possible. But I did get to have conversations about the gospel and about church and about Jesus in the process. And so I was grateful for that, to be able to be there and to do that and to be representation and to be light and to be salt and to have the conversations with the other vendors and about art and shows and things like that. And I was grateful to be there. The Brothers Boyd do a great job. On the way out, I lingered in the parking lot because we were looking through music on the MP3 player, and we were planning stuff and where we were going and picking routes. And I saw the Brothers Boyd, all three of them walking out together as they were making their last lap out, and I swung backwards, threw it in reverse, and just snapped a picture of them because it looked like it was a moment that needed to be captured. Um, and but yeah, that was good. We headed back to the house, and took 3 hours or whatever. We got back there, but I'll say this: one of the craziest things is we drove up the interstate the majority of the way there. On the way back, we never touched interstate. And there was literally a 75-mile stretch where we saw not a single store, not a single restaurant, not a single gas station, just trees, houses, and road. And I'm glad that I had gas, and I'm glad that I wasn't hungry or needed to use the bathroom, because it would have been rough had that been the case. So again, if you're traveling back roads to Havelock, make sure you are secure in all your facets and your loins are girded. But I'm telling you, it was a not a bleak drive, but it was a nice drive of simplicity, sun setting, windows down, radio blasting. Just overall, there's not much of a better day that you could ask for that. And the drive back was honestly probably one of the nicest parts. My daughter played the Switch, and we listened to music, and I had to stop her from playing K-pop Demon Hunters because we listened to it a lot. It was a good show. I felt good love and fellowship and encouragement in the process, and honestly, I look forward to the next time I get to do it. And yeah, if you've been following stuff that's been going on lately, I'm a little bit more appreciative these days of the moments that I get, because I know that some stuff is funky, and I've got no guarantees that I'll even be able to do this in a year. So we're doing all right. God's good. I'm a hot mess, as the sticker says. But before I go, I want to take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters. Jackie Kraft, Kelly Townsend, Alan Wallace, Fab Quack, Rivka and Tristan Birch, Dorothy Martin Winston, Michelle Stewart, Lynn Turner, David Brooks, Jeff Weimer, Colin Sproles, Jamie Montgomery, the Coleman family, Jonathan Herman, Ron Petit, Gear Saber Cosplay, Scott Ward, Alicia Glenn, Jay Sheed, Jason Crutchfield, Mike Perna, Todd Turner, John Jacobs, Zach Harris, Caleb Grimm, Jeanette Skaggs, Jason Bullock, Christina Ray, Sarah Lewis, Patrick Gale, Rebecca Godlove, and Adam Davis. Thank you all for supporting and encouraging the way that you do, because everything that I was able to give away this weekend, every expense, every bit of generosity that I was able to share this weekend, y'all helped make possible. So thank you for doing that. If you want to be part of the Patreon support team, or if you want to help Faith and Fandom in any way, feel free to let me know. But you can head on over to faithandfandom.com/ or patreon.com/faithandfandom, or just head to our website or wherever else, or just call me. I don't know. Do what you want to do. But grateful for y'all. Thank you for taking time to be a part of this, and I look forward to seeing y'all at a show real soon. This weekend I'm DJing a wedding, so I will not be there. Also, one thing, I got invited to be at Epic Mighty Con, which is going to be this weekend, but because I'm DJing a wedding, I'm not going to be able to do it. I will be at Greensboro Comic Con, and because I'm an idiot in my scheduling sometimes, I'm also going to be on a panel at FaithCon live from my booth at Greensboro Comic Con. So that's going to be a blast. And after that, I'll be at Boardwalk Comic Con in Myrtle Beach on October 3rd. I'll be at Boone Comic Con October 11th. And then as it stands, my last show of the year is going to be doing Geek Church at Fayetteville Comic Con, or Fayetteville Fan Fest, on October 19th. Now, there might be more shows added. I don't know. And just for prayer's sake and everything else, I have a surgery consult for spinal surgery on October 6th. So if you want to be praying for me for that, I'd appreciate it. But thank you for taking the time to be a part of everything, and I hope to see y'all at a con real soon.